The marriage effect. Did you know that women are actually happy when they have kids? Whoa! There is no way, dude! Yeah, you pretty much need that for humanity to keep existing. That's what we call a evolutionary advantage. It only makes sense. We don't need any kind of study, but here we are. A common narrative has it that commitment and motherhood make women happy. In data suggests the opposite is true. New data, by the way. Sure, why not? Why not? When was deciding whether to have children in the early 2000s? Most of what I read about the prospect was negative. Whoa, 20 years ago already, that's kinda bad. Articles detail the sleep deprivation, the physical challenges of pregnancy, the sheer overwhelmingness of motherhood. If you want to be happy, these writers warned, don't have children. You may not want to get married either. After all, marriage, research suggested, mostly benefits men. Lamau. That's why you have all of those divorce laws, right? Also, this is kind of funny. This also relates to a different tweet that I've seen recently. Sleep deprivation. There was this tweet that mentioned, wow, dude, it's insane. How you can just keep pulling all-nighters when you're in your 20s. And somebody replied, yes, that's when you're supposed to have kids. You're not really meant to have kids when you're 40. Trust me. I've seen it. You're not meant to. Nowadays, the average age when you become a parent is what, like mid-30s? That's way too late, dude. That's way too late. From a biological standpoint, obviously. Friends and family have a few positive things to say, especially about parenting. When as parents, I knew about the disadvantages of having children. They got an earful about tantrums, childcare difficulties, and the lack of time to yourself. You don't sleep for 80 years. It's not that bad, come on. One cousin confided. When asked about the advantages, there was usually a long, awkward pause. It makes you less selfish, one aunt offered. Not a convincing argument for a fiercely independent, career-minded woman such as myself. Ah, the classic. Strong, independent woman doesn't need no man. Hilarious. These same sentiments are prevalent in today's online conversations and news reports. I would say that's not quite that case. I understand that the world nowadays, modern society, is really messy. It's really messed up. So I understand where people are considering, should I wait for things to be better to have kids? But there's still a lot of people against that because, oh no, kids, what about contamination? What about it? Have you seen India? Have you seen China? Come on. Women are happier without children or a spouse. This happiness expert. And then they are 50, they just have a bunch of cats, and they go absolutely insane. We've seen that happening. One headline reads, another reveals, why so many single women without children are happy? They're actually not happy. They have convinced themselves they're happier working. Do you know that having to work is a massive pain in the ass? Women, they convince you of working outside of the home. Why would you do that? I mean, sure, getting money at school and all that, but you're gonna be happier? And the economy got a screw. Are we sure that was good? I'm gonna get hit for that. But what else is new? People post in discussion forums asking, why do you think the single unmarried women without children are happier than married women with children? This is a blatant lie, by the way. That's not what's happening. If you see the actual data, I don't know if they're gonna mention it in this article. But are married mothers actually less happy than single women without children? That's one of the questions that, along with my colleagues, Jeanette Erickson, Wendy Wang, what a name, and Brad Wilcox, I set out to answer by conducting a nationally representative survey of 3,000 American women ages 25 to 55, filed by YouGov in March 2025. I don't know why I thought this was British. That's crazy. What we found contradicts the negative messages that I had come across. Married mothers are actually happier than unmarried women, and married women without children. In the survey, 19% of married mothers describe themselves as very happy, compared with 11% of married women without children, 13% of unmarried mothers. Unmarried mothers, okay. They're gonna have different troubles, obviously. And 10% of unmarried women without children. Married mothers were also more likely to say that life is enjoyable most or all of the time than the other three groups. These numbers are controlled for age, family income, and education, so we know that those factors aren't the cause of the differences. These findings are not the one-off. Well-respected sources, such as the General Social Survey, not societal, show me the same result. Married mothers and fathers in the survey were more likely to report being very happy than unmarried people and those without children. Another recent study found that married or partnered mothers... I don't like that kind of discourse. This is not YouTube, this is not Twitch. Are less likely to frequently feel depressed or anxious than people in the other three groups. Oh, jeez, I wonder why. Yes, you're meant to have kids. That's a biological imperative. Could it be not that the marriage produces happiness, but the causation goes the other way? The happy people are more likely to marry? I think it's just about values, though. If you want to have kids, you probably want to marry first. That's comes from Christian values, I suppose. I think that makes sense. I've seen some people do that I've never had expected. One study controlled for premarital happiness levels and still found that marriage results in happier people, in less intense dip in life satisfaction at middle age. That's not to say the roles of wife and mother don't have their challenges. I mean, obviously not. Roughly 2/3 of mothers in our survey, for example, said that they felt overwhelmed each day. They also did more than half of non-mothers. Yeah, I mean, what kind of why are you overwhelmed by, right? Is it the kids? Is it the job? Is it both? It makes sense. You only have a limited amount of money, also time, but yeah, I want to save time. And 6 in 10 mothers said that they wish they had more time to themselves, compared with about 4 out of 10 childless women. Why then are mothers happier? The reason I speak to the profound experience of parenthood. Married mothers were the most likely to agree that their life has a clear sense of purpose, 28%, quite literally. 28 seems kinda low even. Followed closely by unmarried mothers, 25%. Only approximately 15% of women without children agreed. Mothers were also more likely than non-mothers to agree that their life feels meaningful, all or most of the time. You literally have many because you have kids, that's the meaning. At least you have that meaning, if nothing else. I now have 3 children, and I'm somewhat incredulous that pre-motherhood requires. No one mentioned the sense of purpose parenthood gives you. Yes, you're going to be tired and overwhelmed, but there's a deep knowledge that you're doing something important with your life. You're nurturing a human being. These feelings of purpose and meaning are sometimes difficult to put into words. Perhaps why they aren't regularly discussed. They are usually dismissed to fun enough. But having a career is more meaningful than having kids. That career is not gonna take care of you when you're old and sick. I'm fortunate to have a career I love and find meaningful. Even so, the sense of purpose I have found through motherhood dwarfs every career milestone I have ever achieved. Unsurprisingly, to be fair. The survey results also show that marriage comes with several advantages. Married women are about half as likely to report being lonely as unmarried women. I mean, yeah, the water's wet, obviously. One factor may be that married women are more likely, they report, to regularly receive physical affection and touch. Yes, because they have a husband. They may have a wife, but the wife might be violent too. I'm just in the statistics, it's not looking good. Touch is, in turn, extremely linked to happiness. 22% of women in the survey who experienced a high level of physical touch were very happy, compared with only 7% of those who received a low level of touch. Touch, especially from a spouse, is associated with reduced stress, increased trust, and greater sense of safety. Holy moly, dude! You're about to rediscover the wheel, hold up! Obviously! Humans are tribal creatures, you need a tribe. What is the tribe, if not the family, at its core, right? Yes, we're social animals. It feels really obvious, but I guess some people still ignore this. I have no idea. The false narrative that marriage and motherhood are a recipe for women's happiness is doing a lot of damage. In a nationally representative survey that I analyzed for my book Generations, the number of 18-year-old women who expected to have children plummeted by 11% points from the late 2000s to the early 2020s. Negative messaging about marriage and motherhood is likely at the root of these Gen Z shifts, along with the pervasive pessimism about everything egged on by social media that borders on doomerism. Not only that I'm just seeing OnlyFans and just go into OnlyFans and be a millionaire. Who cares about you whoring yourself to the masses? Who cares about that? In 20 years, when you have a lot of resources, trust me, you will remember. People don't forget, especially you. It's not good. Good luck finding a husband that way too, by the way. Or a wife, I suppose. Young people are also profoundly lonely and spend less time with their peers in person. The consequences for their adult relationships are known. Recent trends are even more concerning. AI girlfriends, not this again. Not this again. And boyfriends now offer the prospect of relationships with an always available entity that has no needs of its own. Meanwhile, the fertility rate in the US is at an all-time low. Can you believe that I got criticism for talking against AI boyfriends in this case? It's not healthy. It's not normal. You're only doing a disservice to yourself. Damn you, clankers! Damn you! There are many reasons people choose to not have children or not to get married, but false messages about happiness should not be one of them. The articles I read long ago were right that parenting and marriage can often be exhausting, but they ignore the sense of meaning that comes from parenthood and the connection of physical touch at the core of family life. After all, an AI boyfriend can't hug you back. To say nothing of an AI child, I guess that's doable, I suppose. I guess that's doable. But I find it really funny. I find it really funny. I think I mentioned this before a little bit at some point. But I do have an older sister. She got married years ago. And she had a kid. She was the kind of person that said, since she was very young, she would never marry and she would never have kids. I know it took a lot of convincing to have a single kid, but she's clearly way happier right now. Which is kind of funny. If that happened to somebody like my sister, it can happen to literally anybody. Make no mistake about that. So, as Shinzo Abe said, marry and have kids. Do it now.